right, so somewhere in one of my slides, I usually have the following statement.
You might want one of these as well if you've got many slides, Minter.
I do.
Yeah, first step to personal branding.
That's true. Is give before you expect in return. I'm thinking I should modify that when I gave to Eduardo what I said before, because I now should be expecting a lot more in return from you all. So how many of you guys follow a CEO on social? Okay, how many of you guys, keep your hands up, how many of you guys follow a major corporation's CEO on social? How many of those CEOs are active on social that you know? How many of them do you trust? All right, so we don't have an enormous number of people doing what I believe should be done in corporations. And it's a huge missed opportunity. So just a quick update about myself before I get into the swing of what I'm going to talk about. So my name is Minter Dial. I have an accent that varies according to what I'm doing. So when I'm eating, it usually talks a little bit français. And when I'm at dinner time or maybe pub time, it goes a little bit English on you. So I basically have changed countries 15 times and changed homes 34 times. So it's complicated to understand and for me to know who I am. In terms of my background, it's also been extremely complicated. I've started off as trying to make my living as a tennis pro. Then I worked in an investment bank, bought a travel agency for musicians, failed dismally. Worked in a zoo, got promoted to work in an aquarium. Went to business school, and then worked for 16 years at L'Oreal. And so at that point, I was on the executive committee trying to work, amongst other things, on getting digital and getting the bosses to understand the importance of digital in the organization and maybe what their role as leaders is. So the question is, what is the role of personal branding in corporate branding? The issue is the issue. We have this amorphous identity that's out there. Sometimes we're trying to control it, but for the most of the time, it's actually just the perception and how other people are living it and speaking about it. And then there's you as an individual, an executive. What is your brand, and what overlap do you have with the corporate brand? Do you live in a little bubble off Facebook, off LinkedIn, in my little home? Or am I expansive? And then what is that overlap with the company for which I'm working? There are the three things. There are three things I'm going to promise, or my statements, and then one provocation. And I'm hoping that I get some stimulus back from you on that. So the first is, be strategic with your presence. What can you be doing with your online presence to drive your strategic imperatives? It's absolutely startling and crazy how few CEOs are actually online, because they can be solving so many of their issues. At least 50% of companies say that customer centricity is important to us. Well, then why aren't they listening to the customers? Second one is, the more you're aligned, the more the crossover of your personal brand with the corporate brand can grow. So the question here is, how do you create a strong presence, a strong understanding of what your brand is, recruit according to those values, and make those values come alive within the organization? Because if they're not, you're full of shit. You need to have de facto values being lived, so it gives you that feeling of authenticity that we're all looking for when you're going out there online. Otherwise, we don't say anything. We toe the party line, but it's not an internal gut reaction that allows for mistakes in the way we spell. The third one is, the biggest fans of your brand need to be your team, your internal organization. Because if they ain't, why are you expecting the community, the customers, to come running to you and think, oh God, you're great, when inside you don't believe what you're saying? Allowing them to express themselves, like the Southwest Airlines guy. How many guys have seen that Southwest Airlines agent singing, right? Allow them to express themselves. But the only way you're going to get that is if you, as the leader, demonstrate the example. You need to lead by example. Otherwise, it's a bunch of bullshit. So this is the provocation. How many of you guys have a company where you were prepared to pass the brand tattoo test? Most of you won't even have asked yourself that question, I'm thinking. So some people say, I want my team to be engaged. I say, you want engaged? Feel the tattoo. And I'm not even thinking you need to like tattoos. But that's a painful thing to have done on your arm, I can tell you. My wife worked for and My wife and my mother are born on exactly the same day. That's why I get confused. So the brand tattoo test, this is it. This is a guy in India who has over 100 brands tattooed on his body. And he's a consumer. But why don't your customers, why don't your employees have it? So this is the scale. 0, it's a criminal idea. And I don't even care whether you like tattoos or not. Up to 3, no way, Jose. 5, unlikely. 7, maybe. 8, will it come off? And then, hell yeah, at 10. So how many of you guys are up at 10? Way! Hey! So this is the question. We've got one person in the room. And you want commitment, you want engagement. You want your employees to speak about you with authenticity. Then you need to look at make them pass the brand tattoo test. The higher the score on the tattoo test, the more powerful the personal brand, corporate brand relationship shall be. That's my point.
15 seconds left. Okay, so I think first and foremost,
I think, yeah, very, very interesting. How many of us would? I mean, like Ashmita, I have my own business, so in theory, I would do it.
well, in theory, you can join her at the end.
But yeah, we're down the tattoo parlor right after this. I think that has to go both ways, though, because as anybody who's been in a reasonable-sized company or has a reasonable career, the number of people in this room that have been made redundant at some point is probably significant. So I guess the kickback is how many of any of our companies would be willing to have our face as their logo?
Well, is that not somehow personal branding in corporate branding? And the question is, how do you create an environment where that happens? You know, I used to work for a company called Redken, which is a hairdresser company, for L'Oreal. And I'm still it's 10 years since I left L'Oreal, 18 years since I left running that brand. I'm still hugely in touch with members who were deeply important to me back 18 years ago. So we are an ongoing family. And as my wife said, not over my dead body, but that's another point. I would legitimately have a Redken brand tattoo on me, even though I left the company. And the reason is, because I lived the values of the brand. These are values that gave me stuff, made me feel good. Because what we were doing, we were helping hairdressers make communities better. Because the hairdresser is the center of a community. And if you make the hairdresser more proud, more fulfilled, then they're going to do better in their job and make their communities more fulfilling and make their villages, their communities stronger, tighter. So I felt like I had a mission, and that was a beautiful thing. And I still think I'm on that mission, actually. So the question is then, how do you create that as an organization? If you're the leader of the organization, how are you living it? Because, by the way, it has to live on after you.
If I may.
Answer is quite about a lot of the things we've been talking about already, and authenticity being one of them, right? And I think in the corporate day and age, I've met lots of CEOs, they think you're talking nonsense.
I know.
Right? Because it's about bottom line and shareholder value. And actually, what are you talking about? We have to be controlled. That's why our UGC is crap, because we can't say anything bad. And
Control.
As we know that every company depends on the vision and the leadership of the CEO and those values trickling down. And unless you have a true leader, which is rare in this world, right, that has the courage and the confidence to not be in control, to be authentic, to empower their employees, it's really difficult, because I think most corporations survive on the opposite. And I, too, was on JWT, and I can say that with truth. You know, it's more about, oh, no, this is our way of doing things, and that's how they grow. So I think it's a really difficult task that you have.
We're in the money just because you're the boss of Sainsbury's.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
And now you're still apologizing. This guy has to apologize.
Plus, we're living in transparency.
Good point.
See, might as well be you all the time. And if you aren't good, then you need to. My
You're a
opinion.
bad guy. You're good. He's a nice guy. You just have to be singing on camera.
I think it's interesting in a world where we're constantly talking about a work-life balance. Should a CEO be defined by should anybody just be defined by the one role that they do when we're, multifaceted humans? should you be projecting your personal life and your work life as one?
So my point on that one is the chicken and the pig story. You know the chicken and the pig story? Right? Are you committed or not? And the chicken gives the egg, the other guy gives the bacon. So I think that if you want committed, engaged individuals in your company, you need to be working towards the pig. Of course, you kill the pig, that's not good. So you have to find a way to get people who are committed and full. Because if you're spending 12 hours a day working, you might as well bring your whole personality to work. Otherwise, what are we doing on this world?
But lots of people now want that flexibility in the roles where they, they may have the slash careers where they do something and something else.
Right, well, that's true too. And I think that you should make a mosaic of things that are relevant to who you are. And make sure that if you're working in 16 different adventures, well, there's got to be you still that has integrity. The guy I'd like to point out is Ronan Dunn. I love Ronan. He used to, at O2, he talks about his love for Irish rugby. Now he's head of Verizon Wireless in the United States. We don't even know what rugby is in the United States. And he still talks about how he went to the game, by the way, the year they won. He shows his meat, potatoes, and skin online, and I think that's a great credit to him.